you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Um, I was actually supposed to be at a conference, an academic conference at the University of Florida, and then my talk was scheduled for today, so they asked me to record my presentation and send it off, which I did, so I could be with you all today. Before I speak in the name of my grandparents, the father of my country, Jean-Jacques Dessalines, and the ancestors, my ancestors. My background is in philosophy and sociology, with some theoretical physics. And I was actually given one topic to speak on, mental health, etc. And then last night I was given another topic. So I've been sitting here trying to figure out how do I converge the two talks in 15 minutes, as well as don't make it too academic, because I'm used to teaching graduate students. So if I say anything that you may not understand, if you have a phone, take out your phone, Google it, ask me the question when I sit back down. If I use any words you may not understand, just let me know. I'll answer it when I sit back down. My original topic was titled The Insane Society. The Insane Society. It's a response to, in 1955, there was a psychologist by the name of Erich Fromm. Fromm wrote a book called The Sane Society. He belongs to a particular group of academics, intellectuals known as the Frankfurt School. And what he was trying to explain or understand is, how is it that we conform so easily in society? What is it about human nature? We're born free, as Jean-Jacques Rousseau said, but we have a tendency to conform. And when we don't conform, we have a tendency to go crazy, lose our mind. I don't like to use the term crazy, but we don't like not to conform. We don't like to be non-conformists. So Fromm is responding to a famous psychologist by the name of Sigmund Freud. Freud wrote a book called Civilization and Its Discontent. Again, he's trying to understand the same problem. How is it that a group, a species, born with the ability to reason, make rational choices, but at the same time we fall prey to conformity that makes us do bad and evil things to people? For example, Nazi Germany, slavery. How is it that, I don't know if you all have ever read Toni Morrison's The Bluest Eyes. If you haven't, please read it. Excellent work. How is it, and she goes into slavery, how is it that, a group of mothers, a group of human beings, fellow human beings, can enslave another group of people, torture their young, lynch other people, and yet the masses of people will sit by and do absolutely nothing? As professors, academics, the problem we've been faced with in our society is the fact is, how do we balance our ability as human beings to have rational thought, to be rational individuals, but at the same time we do irrational things? In contemporary times, what are some of the irrational things that we do that would imply that we're technically insane? First and foremost, we live in a world where we construct a lot of the things that we think are real, but they're not real. Remember, the mind constructs the reality that we live, but the mind does not construct the reality out of nothing. We all say, especially in America, we all say we have an opinion. But technically an opinion is like a butthole. We all have it, but it's not what we call veridical. What does that mean? It means your opinion has to be valid. You have to construct your opinion out of something. The mind does not construct the world out of nothing. The problem is we've come up with certain constructions about the world that is not only not real, but they're a danger to ourselves and all life on earth. They're a danger to the world itself. For example, our society is built on this notion that we have to be ambitious, consume, and be responsible for everything we do. But the world does not accept that understanding. Why? Because we are over-consuming, therefore destroying the environment, and therefore polluting the environment. We are ambitious to the point where we're cutthroat with one another. So the very construction that I'm going to use a big word, that we recursively reproduce and reorganize. Recursively just means we do it every day. The very knowledge, ideas by which we reproduce our lives are a danger not only to ourselves, but the world itself. In the age of climate change, in the age of depression, manic depression, there's a reason why in contemporary times when we're supposed to be more free, it's when we're more dangerous to ourselves and others. We're suffering from depression. We're suffering from overconsumption in the world. We're destroying the very environment we need to survive. What is it? What's going on? And what Eric Fromm says in The Same Society is that we've misconstructed how we ought to recursively reorganize and reproduce our lives. We have to go back and rethink, how are we to live with one another in society? We think we can't do that. So therefore, we feel what we call powerlessness. I teach a course in existential philosophy in which one of my favorite philosophers is Albert Camus. If you've ever read The Stranger, excellent book. You can read it at any age. It's a very easy book. It's called The Stranger. In the book, the protagonist is dealing with a particular issue. He kills someone by accident, but he doesn't understand why the society is making a big deal over the death of the person. He's baffled. He's a nonconformist. He can't understand anything, why people are making a big deal. It was an accident. That's because we live in an age where we believe we're not responsible for the world that we're reproducing. So therefore, we feel powerless. Therefore, everything now becomes, oh, am I responsible for this? Am I responsible for that? One of the biggest problems, Emil Durkheim, who's a sociologist, he wrote Suicide. If you've never read the book, go ahead and read the book. What he argues in the book is the reason why many people attempt suicide or think about killing themselves is not only because of the powerlessness that they experience in society, but the meaninglessness that they experience in society. Because now, with the advent of industrial society, what Durkheim argues is that whereas in the past, tradition used to dictate how we lived our lives. We knew we had Christmas, Thanksgiving, Halloween, Thanksgiving, Christmas. We had traditions by which we recursively reorganize and reproduce our lives. But now these things don't carry any meaning anymore. So we have to construct your meaning for yourself. Many people say, I'm an atheist, so please don't hold that against me. Many people will say, God gave me my meaning, and this is the meaning I'm using to reproduce my life. But something had to happen. It took a tragic event for you to take what we call this Kierkegaardian leap of faith, for you to say, you know what, I have to take ownership of my own life. So we live in an age where we're experiencing powerlessness, we're experiencing meaninglessness, and the only solution it looks like, the only solution to this powerlessness and this meaninglessness in society is fascism. We turn to authority figures to tell us how we ought to live our lives. I'm not here to tell you how you ought to live your life. What I'm here to say is how, as a society, we're recursively reproducing our life is destructive, not only to nature, but to the individual itself. We're facing not only an existential crisis, but what we call a metaphysical crisis. What is that crisis? It's a crisis of meaning. How are we to live and recursively reproduce our lives so we don't have individuals struggling with depression? We don't have individuals struggling with anxiety. We don't have individuals suffering with the need to want to commit suicide. And the technical term for this meaninglessness is called anomie. If you've ever heard it, A-N-O-M-I-E, anomie. Durkheim points out there's 4 different forms of anomie. I'm not going to go into it. But anyway, so I'm going to leave you with this. I was actually a pre-med major in college. I'm 44 now, so this is about 30 years ago, 20 years, I don't know. Anyway, I took my first philosophy class, and in that philosophy class, we had to read a book called Thus Spake Zarathustra by a German philosopher. His name is Friedrich Nietzsche. And Nietzsche has a quote in that book. And I've held on to this quote since I was 18 years old. And it says, it was morality that protected life against despair and the leap into nothingness among men and classes who are oppressed and violated. But it's the experience of being powerless against man, not nature, that generates the most desperate embitterment against existence. What Nietzsche is saying is the despair, the powerlessness, the meaninglessness we experience is a result of our interpersonal relationship. It is not a result of nature. Nature doesn't make mistakes technically, but the powerlessness, the meaninglessness, the anomie that we all, and not everyone has experienced some sort of depressive moment in their lives. The reason we're experiencing these things is because of our interpersonal relationship. So I'm leaving with this: surround yourselves with good, meaningful people, and I promise you, some of the anxiety, some of the depression will go away. Majority of it will go away. Thank you.